Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this first online aspie interview. Today we're talking with Brad from Essex in the UK. And interestingly, Brad will find out whether he gets an official Asperger's diagnosis on Friday of this week. So that's going to be very interesting. So welcome, Brad. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. It's the morning here. I'm not a morning person, but I try to give myself a few hours to make sure my brain is awake.
Great. Yeah. So we've managed to find a time that works for the time difference. So it's evening for me and first thing in the morning for you, but that works pretty well.
Yeah.
So you're 99.99% sure that you're on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you so sure?
A lifetime of, being kind of ostracized and misunderstood and not really being able to function in the way other people could. But I don't know, I guess it went completely under the radar, and I was just kind of expected to live a normal life and, berated when I couldn't.
Mm. So that sounds pretty challenging, especially when you're supposed to be normal and, not accepted.
Mm.
Um, is there anything, what's something that you like about being on the spectrum?
Um, it's really tough because, as I just said, I've kind of I've not known what it was my whole life, but I've only ever, anytime it's been noticed or anything, it was always negative. So it's kind of
Mm.
a new concept for me to start thinking about it as strengths when there absolutely are. Um, I have amazing focus when I'm interested in something. And there's certain things that you can really do things to a high standard, like cooking. I really
Mhm.
obsess over doing the best job I can cooking. Um, I seem to approach problems from a different angle to sort of neurotypical people, and a few times in sort of creative, collaborative endeavors, I've really been able to be a valuable part of that. And yeah, so
Mhm.
I suppose those are the sort of strengths that come to mind, or the things I like about it.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking another way to ask this question possibly, because sometimes it's hard to pick which parts of me are the Asperger's and which parts are just me. Do you know what I mean?
Very true. Yeah,
So really, that question could just be, what do you like most about being you?
I suppose so. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, like I say, where do you draw the line between those two things? I'm pretty sure the intense sort of focus side of things is a trait,
Yeah,
and so I
definitely.
can say I like that. Yeah, I have a very good memory for patterns and stuff. Like I taught myself to play guitar, and I can just sort of look at a guitar tab and memorize the pattern very quickly. So then I can just wherever I am with my guitar, I can just practice that particular piece because it's just in my head. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
nice. So you can actually practice. It's not like you already know it, but you can practice it because you've got the music in front of you, even when you
yeah,
don't have the music in front of you.
that's it. Yeah, it's not like I can't read music. Guitar tabs are like the cheating way, like the layman's way of doing it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's just that sort of memory for patterns. I used to be an IT technician, and if someone told me their password, there's a good chance I would just never forget it. Um,
Oops.
Phone numbers, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Um, so what do you like doing then in your free time?
I read. I play a lot of guitar. I've set myself up a schedule. I remember one of the questions you sent me to begin with was, what's something good you've done or had success with recently? And that was finally setting myself up a rigid schedule for the day, including like study periods. And I've been using that to learn computer programming and some of the math I didn't learn in school. Um, yeah, I barely learned anything in school because I was just kind of overwhelmed the entire time. And
Hmm.
math was probably the worst one. But no, I can do long multiplication now, which is awesome. I'm then going to go on to long division, and hopefully we have GCSEs here, which is sort of you finish secondary school, and those are your grades that you go on to college or get a job,
Okay.
put on your CV. Um, Mine was a D, which is not a passing grade, and it's kind of held me back. I imagine it has held me back in jobs and stuff. So I'd like to go back and get that sorted out.
Okay. So you've found a routine that's working really well for you at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. Just having that structure, I find if I don't have a plan for the day, I seem to make like a million micro plans for each
Yeah.
chunk of the day, and they never go to plan, and I wind up a lot more stressed out as a result.
Yep.
So I feel so content, like, and consistently content. You know, I used to have like one good day and then 10 bad days, and now it's mostly good days, and that's awesome. Really good.
So how do you go about making that plan? Like if someone thinks, oh, that sounds a little bit like me, I have one good day and 10 bad days, and I think maybe having a schedule might help me, how would they go about trying a similar thing that you've found?
I really found it hard to start. There was a lot of inertia, and in terms of, you know, it's kind of like the whole, I don't know how to begin doing the thing. So I
Yes.
got Google Calendar up, and I thought, right, what time would I like to wake up? My dad walks our dogs in the morning, so I thought a good opportunity to get some exercise would be to wake up and go with him on that walk, as well as walking with myself in the afternoon. So I'm getting loads of exercise now, which is great.
Great.
I just went in sort of like hour or 2 hour slots, you know, like 9 to 10, eat something, 10 to 11, exercise, have a shower. Midday to 1, study period. You know, I've just got study something, which I
Okay.
feel like I should be a bit more specific and give myself maybe like a slot for maths, a slot for programming, a slot for music theory. So it's going to evolve. I just kind of wanted something down to try, and now I know it works. I'm going to start tweaking it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love the I have to start somewhere attitude.
Yeah. That's it.
Because
Just start.
yeah,
And then your brain sort of wraps around it over time, and it becomes less of an unknown quantity.
yeah, and then obviously it's not going to be perfect when you start, but
No.
it sounds like it's worked pretty well so far, and now you can tweak it like you were saying. You've found that you're actually being quite productive with the study, so you can choose. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have an interest in computers then, you were saying?
Yeah. I think we got my first computer in 1998, and I was the only one who was in any way sort of. It was just intuitive for me, and if I broke it or anyone broke it, I had to fix it. So I wound up with quite a good tech support skill set before I was even out of secondary school. So it was just obvious that I was going to go into that side of things.
So more than just have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually I really hate that phrase. I've heard that far too many times in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how have you found that employment challenge? A lot of people find that quite a challenge.
Oh, it's been very difficult. I have not held down I've had about 15 jobs since I left school. I left 2 of them of my own free will. Really struggled with employment. And yeah, that's a really tough one, because it's hard not to be very angry now, because I realized that most of the time I was let go because I didn't fit in. I wasn't a good fit for the team, or, you know, all of that. I would have had a legal leg to stand on if I'd have had a formal diagnosis, which is why it's kind of important to me to get that now. Because I don't want to be on disability, you know. I want to be able to be independent and all that, and it's been a real challenge.
So what are you hoping is going to come out of getting an official diagnosis?
Just that confirmation. Yeah, I was saying to my dad the other day that, like, I'm so sick of being unsure of myself, and yeah, that's the final part of it. I feel like that would just seal the deal, for me personally, and it gives me a leg to stand on with employers. You know,
Yeah.
I'm still not too sure when I should be disclosing the diagnosis, like in the interview stage, or, oh, now I've got the job, let me fill you in on what a weirdo I am, you know, or any of that.
Yeah, my experience is that kind of evolves once you get the diagnosis. Once it's
Yeah.
actually real, then you can decide who you're going to tell and how and things like that.
Yeah, that's it. Once it's actually real, because right now I'm in limbo. I'm at the mercy of the NHS, waiting for them to send out a letter, which was like weeks after in the assessment. And they did so many things that are just textbook wrong to do to an aspie, you know, like be really vague and unclear, invade my personal space to get me to sign forms. And I thought, are they doing this on purpose to see how I react? And I think they were just oblivious. Like, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I think, are they a genius? Is this like really, really
Yeah.
high tech skill set where they're testing all these things without even knowing? Or are they just really dumb?
I think I don't want to insult their intelligence, but I think in that case they were quite oblivious.
Mm-hmm. So this is quite a unique snapshot in time for you, where you decided for yourself that you were on the spectrum, and you've gone through this process, and you're very sure, but we're still in limbo. So
Yep.
do you want to tell us a bit about how that's going for you, that waiting process?
Awful, really. The schedule was really helped me. Before that, I was kind of they basically said 4 to 6 weeks, and we'll invite you back for a review. They didn't give me any indication of what they thought at the time. So yeah, once 6 weeks went by, it was like, right, now I can officially start freaking out because the time frame is, you know, they've broken the time frame. See, it's been hard just trying to take it day by day and just persevere, and you know, yes.
So
I mean, I'm on what we call well, it's universal credit now. It used to be job seekers allowance. It's sort of like unemployment benefit, and
okay.
they've been so understanding. Like honestly, you just hear a million nightmare stories about not being taken seriously and them treating everyone like they're just trying it on for the money and all that. But no, I've been signed off by the doctors for 6 months, so I'm under no obligations to sort of like look for work or do any of the things I'd normally have to do. Yeah, so that side of it all has been really good. Like I was actually quite surprised to get like any form of support or sympathy from them. So yeah, nice one, universal credit.
Yeah, wow, that actually sounds amazing to have so few questions asked. Normally, you sort of have to
Yeah,
justify absolutely everything.
that's it. Yeah, they set me up an interview with a work psychologist as well, which is quite interesting. It just turned into a chat because I'm kind of quite interested. Like I've had to learn aspects of psychology and human nature to survive. So it's kind of a special interest of mine that I don't really pursue as much as I'd like to. So having a conversation with an actual psychologist was really interesting. And he seemed to, I don't know, he really, I saw a moment where his eyes lit up and he was, I compared my childhood. I said to him, imagine being punched in the face over and over again, and if you bleed, then you get kicked in the stomach. You know, if you react in any way to being punched in the face, then it just gets worse. And he was like, "Ooh, you know," I saw his eyes light up, and I was like, "You actually understood that? Like, thank you." So yeah, it's very interesting. It wasn't really that productive. That it was just kind of a chat between the two of us. But he's going to set me up. When I read about all this sort of assessment and stuff, it's like the Cambridge Institute does like endocrinology and IQ tests and all that for their parts of their assessment. And I thought that was just going to be the case. I was really interested in having an IQ test, and that wasn't part of the assessment, but the work psychologist can set that up for me.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can still do an IQ test. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. I still can, but it's through universal credit. So it's
Ah,
kind
okay.
of interesting that it was
Ah, great.
not the NHS that was providing that.
Yeah, interesting. So you've heard that you will get official confirmation in some form this
Mm-hmm.
week. So that's going to be pretty big.
It's going to be huge. Yeah. I'm really worried that I don't know, it's either yes, you're on the spectrum or no. And then the no is going to be, well, why? Like, we think you're lying, or no, you're actually schizophrenic, or I don't know. Like, I need to be open-minded. If they tell me it's anything that isn't, you know, ASD or being on the spectrum, I will read up on it and I will look into it, but I think I'm just going to initially disagree because, as I say, I'm so certain from everything I've read so far and the
Yeah.
tests I've done and that it is the case. So, yeah, I don't know. That's going
Yeah,
to be really, I don't know how I'm going to react if they tell me no, you know, like.
Yeah, that's a significant anxiety, and I think for probably a lot of adults who haven't got an official diagnosis, that might even be a barrier.
Hmm.
Because, well, what if some professional who doesn't really know me very well tells me no? Does that mean, is it a real no, or did they get it
Yeah,
wrong, or
exactly.
did they like? So, yeah.
And that
Well,
can, what you're saying is that can prevent people from even going in the first place. And yeah, it's true.
I imagine it definitely could. I mean, waiting for someone else to validate something that is so important to you and has been such a big discovery to you.
Yeah, I was talking about this with Dad the other day. It's basically like my sense of self when I discovered when the penny dropped for me that I was on. As I said in that blog, I walked around like a zombie for 3 days. Like it destroyed my sense of self. I didn't know who I was anymore. And that slowly built back up now, and it feels like my sense of self is built on a very strong foundation now. If the doctor were to come along and say like, no, you're not, it's just bang, it's back to square one. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if I can handle that, because at least my sense of self was shattered in a way that was positive. Because it was just going to build up from there. And like if this happens now, it's going to be shattered from a sort of negative place. And yeah, so it's a significant worry for me.
Yeah, well, that puts your comments before about being in limbo and waiting for more than 6 weeks. That really puts that in perspective of how
Yeah.
difficult that could be, knowing
Mm.
that at the end you may or may not receive this shattering, identity shattering news.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck for
Thank you.
getting
Thank
those
you.
results later this week. For everyone else listening, Brad actually shared his diagnosis story through my written blog a little while back. So I'll include a link to that if you want to read a little bit more about his story. But I think we might leave it there for today, Brad.
Yeah, sure.
So
Sure.
thank you very much for being the first online Aspie interview.
No, it's an honor.
And I hope we can do more like this in future, because I obviously am limited geographically with people living in Melbourne. So if you don't live in Melbourne and you're keen for an Aspie interview, send me a message and we'll see what we can do. So yeah, so thanks again, Brad, and there'll be more Aspie interviews later this year. So
Thanks, Paul.